Hi guys, this is the Forgetful Scholar and let's chat about books. So this week is going to be On the Run, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and Family Problems. And yes, I have been doing 3 books lately just because I've been getting busy in real life. So for right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that because trying to fit in 4 books with what's been going on has been pretty stressful, and I don't ever want to be stressed out when it comes to this, my channel. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do that. Okay, so once things settle down, hopefully I could go back to 4 books. But anyway, so so the first book is going to be On the Run, and it is Night Shift, book 3 by T.A. Moore, Shiftless. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so this one is, I believe, the finale of the Night Shift series. So this is the 3rd book, and it starts off right after the 2nd book. So the 2nd book ended with Kit being framed for murder, we assume, and him on the run. So in this book, Kit is on the run, and Kit is the human cop that deals with werewolves on the full moon. And he goes to Kit and Cade. So he goes to Cade, who is a werewolf in charge of a security company, and they've been having like a beginning relationship. They care about each other. There's been misunderstandings, all that stuff. He goes to him for help, reluctantly, because he doesn't really want to get him in trouble. But there it is. I will say that for the 2 previous books, I really wanted backstory for Kit a little bit more because we got a great amount from Cade, and the author is very good at seamlessly putting that in. Doesn't seem chunky, doesn't seem forced, it flows really well. So we do get a little bit more, not so much his childhood or anything like that, just more on how the original Dirty Cop got basically, like what they did to Kit in the first place. And this book proves that Kit is badass. Of course it does. Cade has feelings that he's surprised by. The romance of it had a good conclusion. Finally. And the whole Dirty Cop thing had a nice conclusion as well. I kind of debated what I would give this one because it did give me Kit's background story. So I think I am going to stick probably with a 3. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Without giving anything away, I was not surprised who the Dirty Cop was, just like I said in the last book. I'm happy it ended the way it did. That was satisfying. Bennett, still a bitch. Like, I don't know if the author was trying to do feisty and tough, but she just, to me, she came off as bitchy. And this is a tiny spoiler. It doesn't really have anything to do with the main plot, nothing like that. But on the run, Kit helps a woman, because she's in labor on the full moon, helps her get to the hospital, and she's so grateful she wants to name the kid after him. And Bennett takes it. Like, basically, oh yeah, I did that. So the kid's named Bennett. Takes credit for it. Like, how she's been doing through all 3 books. And if I was the mother, like, this one really, really pissed me off. Because I was the mother, and I wanted to name my kid after the brave gentleman that helped me, and then this woman just swoops out of nowhere and takes credit for it. If I ever found out, for one, I would change the kid's name if he's young enough, like, not to remember. I would change the kid's name, and I would, like, publicly let everyone know. Like, I would call the news stations, the reporters or something, and let them know. Or nowadays, Philip DeFranco. And let them know, because obviously this Bennett person that this woman never met just cares about publicity. And she stole the credit from someone who actually meant a great deal to her and saved her life and saved her child's life. And she wanted to, name the kid after him because that means something to her. Like, that's her kid's name. Like, that's... God, Bennett, you're such a bitch. And that's kind of an overall problem, one of the problems with this book. Although I will say, I really did love the world. I loved the whole werewolf, null, human, /human stuff going on. the writer's got a lot of talent, especially for action scenes. Like, whew. And mystery's really good too. But the thing is, everyone was kind of an asshole. And I don't know if that was on purpose or they were going for feisty and sarcastic. Because for me, it kind of tipped the scale from feisty, sarcastic, male or female, to just a bitch, male or female. So that's a little, for me, like maybe you read it, you don't get that feel, you know, different sensibilities, growing up different cultures, you know, stuff like that. So there's that. And these 3 books, overall, I would give it like, the whole series, I would give it like a 3.5. You know, it's a fun series. They're quick reads. It's entertaining. The action's great. The world's great. The ending is really sweet and satisfying. It's just, it feels like one full book broken up into 3 parts and not a 3-part series. And I know that sounds crazy. I sound like a crazy person, but hold on. I will explain, I promise. So, from, you know, reading a lot and everything like that, for what I've noticed with duet books or 3-part series, the first book, there's a little bit of introduction and, you know, building relationships. You start to care about these people. You find out who they care about. You find a little bit about them, about the world around them. And then it kind of ends on a cliffhanger where third act conflict comes in, but it's a lower grade third act conflict. Like, it's not the big kahuna, the big boss fight at the end, but it is a conflict. And that it doesn't get resolved in that book. It bleeds onto the second book, where the second book is basically dealing with that conflict and building up for the big boss fight that you have to deal with in the third, where the third final conflict is. So the second book, you know, so each book kind of has their own climax and ending, even though the first and second book tend to end on a little bit of cliffhangers or leave things open-ended, like loose strands here and there that the reader will want to go back to the third book and read it. And the third book is basically third act conflict, dealing with that and resolution. Now, a full book is introduction to the people in the world, the climax, where it sets up for the big third act conflict that is, hopefully, if it's not a shitty book, resolved in that book. And that's one book. So this felt like one interesting book was chopped up in 3 parts and sold separately. That's what this kind of felt like. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy this writer. I'm going to see if any of their other books kind of catch my eye. I'm going to check them out a little bit more. But that was pretty confusing, disappointing. I don't know what that was. That was a little... a little wah-wah for me, personally. So that's why I gotta give the whole series, even though I enjoyed it and it was a fun read, 3 stars, because it just felt like one big book instead of 3 parts in a full series. So that one. So the book itself, 3 stars. The series itself, 3 stars. So the next one is going to talk about Wrong Place, Wrong Time. There we go. I remembered. So this is a reread. And because I was kind of in the mood. No, I was in the mood, not kind of. I was completely in the mood for a medieval romance, and in my used bookstore, things like that, I didn't find anything that caught my eye. And I even, shock horror, looked in Barnes and Nobles and nothing really there. I didn't really find any more current medieval romance novels. I mean, if you guys have a suggestion, please let me know. Like, I would love to check out more of them. It seems to be like it's kind of fading away a little bit. So I did revisit one of my favorites, a 5-star from, of course, Johanna Lindsey, and it's Hearts Aflame. Now, this one doesn't have so it's just this. And this book was released in 1987. Of course, this is a reprint, but 1987, and it is a 5-star. This is a second in a family series. So the book before this was her parents' story, which was like a captive enemies to lovers. This is a captive enemy to lovers, and the third book in this family is a captive friends, enemies to lovers. I think you see where I'm going with this. Now, the parents book I read, it was okay. Never had the urge to ever read it again. Still don't. It's fine. This book is 5 stars. I've read this multiple times when I'm kind of in the mood for medieval, you know? Now, I will say this, again, it was published in 1987, and this is before all the subgenres of like dark romance or slightly or light dark romance or I don't know, or serial killer, all these different subgenres. I will say that I should say that there should be, if it was printed today, there would be a content warning for the first paragraph for attempted assault. I know, Johanna and Lindsey getting a little spicy, or was spicy, you know. So this follows Kristen, who is the daughter of the characters from the first book. And even though I just read this, I could not tell you their names. The mother's name, I believe, Brianna. The father, I could not tell you their names. That's how much I just like, oh no, they're cute, but I don't really care, kind of a thing. Now, her father is the younger brother to a Viking Droll. I will have it here. Basically the chieftain, the Viking chieftain. He's a badass warrior in his right. They have a bunch of kids. I believe she's the second oldest and the only girl. The mother was a Celtic slave that was brought over, and she was the only child of her father, so he taught her manly warrior ways, not the ways of a female. So Brianna was always like a badass fighter, and she taught her daughter to protect herself. Not that her husband knows, because when they talked about it, he didn't want, because that was like his job to protect her. So, but she knows how to kick ass. And the thing is, Kristen, throughout all this book, this is not like a Stockholm, like nothing like that, because she is a very strong, very steady person. Like, it doesn't matter what situation she's in, she never loses a sense of self. Like, she is who she is, and she's a badass. Okay? So in the first chapter, when we meet Kristen, she is skinny dipping in a local pond, and a friend of her brother's shows up because he wants to marry her, and, you know, she refused, so he's going to force the issue by forcing her, and she takes care of that shit. She does not let it happen. She takes care of that shit. Okay? A little bit of, there we go. So that kind of sets off a tone of, like, who she is. Now, her older brother, who is the main character of the third book, he and their cousins and friends are planning a Viking raid to live out the old days, like how their fathers talk about with great, like, oh, it's so great doing this and that. So they're going to do it because they're idiot 20-year-olds, and so why not? She doesn't want to be left behind because of what happened in the first book, and she doesn't want to be forced to marry because she's kind of turned down everybody that has, you know, put forth their hand, because she's tall, gorgeous, statuesque, you know, she's amazing, but she wants a love like her parents. Hi, editing me realized I lost the footage, so I'm gonna do this really quick. Royce thinks they're Danes. He's the main character. They lose the battle. They're taken prisoner. He realizes Kristen is a Kristen, not a boy. And that's where their love story starts, and is a great love story ending. And it's just a full love story. There's nothing else going on. That's the main plot. And, 5 stars. It's a wonderful read. Okay, sorry. I just had to add that in. Bye, guys. So basically on this one, it's the Halloween season, just before Halloween. And it's Whyborne's birthday is on Halloween. And they mention again that, his twin died in childbirth and things like that. He's at a ball to welcome his sister back from England, Guinevere, and he meets 2 of his distant cousins. So right away, like, I knew the cousins would be trouble. I knew something was going on. Like, nothing in this book really surprised me. Like, in the past a little bit, you know? So it was very telegraphed. The clues were all there in the other books. Maybe that's why, you know, I, again, can't talk too much about what was happening in this book because I don't want to give it away. But for me, it was just 2 stars for a long point. I think Whyborne, the argument he kind of forces on us was really irritating. Like, Whyborne, for the most of it, was really irritating. And I knew it was going to happen, sort of like the addictive personality, addictive properties of magic using and all that stuff. So I was like, okay. The thing that really got me was if Griffin did what Whyborne was doing, Whyborne would be furious. So Whyborne justifying him doing that to himself was such like a person going through addiction kind of a thing, you know, which was well done. I'll give you that. But the argument was so irritating because this is book 5, and because it was Griffin doesn't exactly approve of the magic, and rightfully so, because every time he's been around sorcerer magic, he's been horribly hurt, horribly violent. Like there shouldn't be like, I don't blame him for being cautious and not wanting the love of his life to turn evil, because that's all he's kind of seen, you know? And I thought in the Egyptian book, the book before this, they settled it, at least came to an accord, you know? But no, the fight is up again. Like, it was so irritating. I hope they had a heart-to-heart talk about it. I hope it's done, because Jordan L. Hawk, you are too talented and too proficient and too magnificent, let's put it that way, of a writer to use the same crappy fight plot point again. It's done. Please just leave it there. I hope so. It seems like it's finally put to bed. I hope so. Just leave it, okay? Just leave it. Now, the last 4 to 3 chapters in the end of this book made this book shot up to 5 stars, because the fight with the final boss and everything was going on was so interesting and so fun to read. The resolution with the family stuff was really good, and even to the point where like the author had me feeling bad for the dad. You know what I mean? Like that is some good writing, because Neil Whyborne, the father, Percival, the main characters, Whyborne's dad, been a dick the whole time, but here, like, I really felt bad for him, you know? And the love ending with Griffin and Whyborne was so sweet. It was squeal worthy. So but 3 to 4 chapters does not stop the rest of the book being 2 stars. So, sorry. I'm back. It's been a couple minutes. I've had a little technical difficulty, so hopefully that's okay. So, I don't remember where I left off. The love line, squeal worthy, the fighting scene, fantastic. Hopefully the argument was put to bed, because Jesus Christ, no more, thank you. It's done. Too good to keep beating that dead horse. And I hate that expression. That was a horrible expression. I'm talking really fast. Okay. So I can't, like, the first 80% of this book, 2 stars. The last 3 chapters, 5 stars. It took me so long to figure out what I would rate this, and honestly, a 3. And I know that doesn't seem too bad, but like, that is probably the lowest I've ever given a Jordan L. Hawk book on this channel, period. But it's true. Like, it's a fun book. None of it surprised me, and I just got annoyed from 80% of it. Which, you know, for me, that annoyed me, but for you, it might not. So, I still think this author is great. I still think this series is great. It's just this one, not the biggest fan. I do like the ending, though. Like, this book was worth forcing myself to continue reading it and getting through the annoyance just to get that ending. You know, just to get that ending. It's like farming in a video game just to get the good, like, enough money to get the good armor. That's what it felt like. Sorry, I'm just making sure I don't have any more technical difficulties, because that freaked me out for a second. Okay. So, I think that's it for this week. So, I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe. And see you later.